Hello, everyone. My guest today is Charlie Ward. He's originally worked in ad agencies, but 4 years ago pivoted to tech, becoming a product manager, then UX researcher. On the side, he started a popular London indie hackers meetup called Indie Beers. It's now part of Indie London. And from that evolved WeekendClub, the weekend co-working club for bootstrappers. Charlie, you ready to take us to the top?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's not bury the lead. You're also building in public via your Twitter account. What are you guys at now in terms of MRR?
So we just hit $2,148 in MRR about a few days ago.
And now let's build backwards. What the heck are people paying you for? What are you building?
Yeah, so Weekend Club's the weekend co-working club for bootstrappers. So every Saturday we run 1 day sprints, and it's for founders who have a day job, but they want to get their side hustle done on a Saturday. So it's like a stand up in the morning, office hours halfway through the day to get some feedback, and then a retrospective at the end of the day. So if you're a founder and you're already building on Saturdays, it gives you the structure, the accountability, and the kind of feedback to basically ship your project faster and eventually be able to quit your day job.
But this is only on every Saturday?
Yeah, so it's run over Slack and Zoom. So it's every Saturday. It's in 2 time zones. So we have it on GMT for European and those in Africa, and also on America's time. So 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central time. So we've got people from all over the world now.
This is so cool. When did you sign up your first paying customer? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was October 2019. So it's always been on the side of having a full-time job. I recently went part-time. But yeah, it's been about 1.5 years, and we've kind of picked up the pace in the last 6 months.
And how many, I guess, customers are now paying for this weekend club?
Yeah, we now have 60 paying customers.
60. That's incredible. And so how do you, I imagine most of these guys, it's not just a club. I mean, it probably feels a lot like family, right? And you guys are like, you probably celebrate when you say, I finally was able to move to a part-time, full-time job, and now I'm almost all-time on my side gig, right? I mean, these are what people celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like people come for the events and accountability, but they stay for the community. Like the format means you meet people over video a lot, and it's a great way to kind of build connections. So yeah, there's a lot of like fun parts of Weekend Club as well, like an active like memes channel, that kind of thing. But as you said, yeah, like there's a big part of it is like celebrating wins. That's a huge part of it as well. And it can sometimes it's big things like going full time on your project, but sometimes there's little things like, oh, I got a customer today or something like that. And that's cool as well.
And tell me a little bit more about building community, right? A lot of people, they want to go build a community just because they want to sell $100 a month plans in a Slack group, right? Which is the wrong way to build a community. How have you done this?
To be honest, it evolved quite naturally because I was running meetups in London for like 1.5 years or so before I started this. And so I was quite naturally kind of introducing people to each other, kind of getting to know people. And it was indie hackers, just people I was, personally interested in kind of getting to know. And it just kind of evolved very naturally. Like people said, oh, we love like going for like drinks together, but we'd love to hack on our projects in the same room. And we just got it going. I've kind of about a year, no, maybe about 3 months in, I realized I was in like the community world. I started like meeting people who were community builders. And I started realizing, okay, I need to kind of really think of this. So look, that's just coming down to like really defining what your community is for, who it's for, and what you're basically getting people together for. And once you have those things down, there's a really good book on this, actually, Get Together, which like talks about that basic framework. Then that's the kind of foundation. And then it's that there's like tons of like techniques. But ultimately, the most important thing is make sure you're building connections between other people. It's not like a newsletter, like an audience. You need to make sure you're naturally building those connections, and it scales beyond just you having to introduce people.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, you look like a country club, right? They're paying $100,000 a year for sort of axes. Did you ever look at this and go, I wonder if this would actually deliver more, like you could reinvest more into the group if you made more money from it? Are you charging too little currently?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm charging too little. I think we probably charge on the slightly higher end of like kind of bootstrapper based communities that I've seen. But the reason we do that is like we can just offer a much better service for that. Like as you touch on with like country clubs, not saying we're trying to be like that, but I just think we can offer people a lot more and also make it a lot more sustainable if we charge a bit more money. originally I never planned on charging for community. I used to think I would never do that, but I realized I can just offer a far better service if we do that. And it's not like way more than everyone else. It's just like a bit more. And it means like, I think people know we're going to be around like I think quite a long time.
Something I struggle with our Slack community is when we do live Zoom meetings, right, or things, it's really hard to get everyone obviously to commit to like a certain time. And that's only for an hour. You've got these weekend sessions that start with a 10 a.m. stand up and end with a 4:30 p.m. retrospective. Do you get the large majority of these folks are paying you actually live for 6 hours every weekend?
No, people don't come every weekend. Like I wouldn't say it's that consistent. Like you probably get on average, because you've got to remember it's also split across 2 different time zones as well. I'd say on average, each member attends 2 a month out of like obviously 4 or 5 a month, basically. But it depends. People sometimes go in cycles. Like sometimes they'll do like 3 in a row, then you won't see them for like a month. Or some people might just do it consistently every other week or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you see really high sticky rates? Do people churn frequently?
No, the churn rate in the last 3 months is about 3%. It's pretty low.
Per month or over the full 3 months?
Over the full 3 months.
Okay, got it. So that's what 3, 6, 9. That's like about 12% annual churn, something like that.
No, actually, you know what? I don't think it is that high.
Lower. That's incredible, though. Lower than that's really incredible. I mean, there's a lot of people with these membership sites or these cohort-based courses where the churn and the refund rate is way higher than that. You're doing something special here. That's what I'm trying to dig here and figure out. It's honestly, it's probably just it's you.
I think it's because we've from the original community in London, we already had like a really strong kind of group of people that like knew each other and like and I think when people join, they can just feel that. They can feel that there is like a real community where people are like interested to hear like what you're working on and helping you. Even if we've got some people who are like, much more advanced than others and in terms of their journey. And they're very happy to just, take time to help people out.
Yep. Now, are these always the founders in your groups or could these be like part-time people working on someone else's idea?
It's pretty much always founders. Yeah, like 99%.
So did you have, I'm close with the Comscore guys. Did Jacob or Mac or one of them in the group?
Mac Reza.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. They're obviously growing super quick. So that's a nice success story you can point to.
Yeah. It's a great tool, Comscore.
Do you use them to manage a weekend club?
I'm just getting set up right now, but from what I've seen so far, I'm impressed by it.
Very cool. So how do you grow this thing, right? Or is that even an objective, right? Like how do you grow this?
Yeah, well, my objective by the end of the year is about 5k MRR, and that's roughly my ramen profitability. Because I'm in London, right? So if I was in like Thailand, it'd be lower, but it's quite high here. But in terms of growing, to be honest, we're picking up our growth efforts. We haven't actually done a lot. A lot of it's like either word of mouth or it's from like posting on indie hackers. And, I do Twitter threads on building in public. And that's a lot of it. But we haven't done much like original content. We haven't really done ads. So there's actually quite a lot of like, avenues or levers to grow, I think.
Yeah, this is super, super compelling. What sort of advice would you give for companies that are already established that are trying to launch a community, right? That usually they're way too focused on like conversions and they think about it way too much from an economic perspective. What advice would you give them to launch something like WeekendClub, but for say their own business? Yeah,
well, I mean, I'm not as familiar with like brand community, so like businesses launching community. There's a really good book on this called The Business of Belonging by David Spinks, like deep dives on this.
Okay.
But generally speaking, I think the key is just to kind of be clear on like, who their audience is, why they are building a community, like, giving people a reason to be getting together. And just making sure it's not like too transactional, basically. It takes a long time to build an actual community where people feel like a sense of belonging and just really kind of think long term about it and understand it is an investment, but it can really pay off. It can pay off in terms of like helping with churn, helping reduce costs and customer feedback. It can be helpful for marketing. And, I think there's an example of Duolingo, like they get their members to create their own events to practice like languages, and there's like tens of thousands of these events a year, And there's no way they could do this like with employees. The only way you can do it is with community. So they were starting to get like really concrete examples of like community affecting business metrics. So I think a lot more brands will do that in the future.
That's interesting. Now, I think you'd be way more dangerous here if you're able to do this full time. I think you build something amazing. It's really sort of a capital question. I mean, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, listen, here's 10 grand, here's 20 grand. Will you quit your your gig and like build Weekend Club full time?" And would you look at doing something like that or no?
I think I'd have to think about it. I mean, we've had an acquisition offer in the past, but I don't think we've really spoken to investors yet. But I'd probably consider it, see what the terms are and that kind of thing. I'm enjoying my kind of freelancing at the moment, but like ultimately, I can't, unless I'm full time on Weekend Club, I'm not going to take us to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the context of the acquisition offer? What were they wanting to buy? I mean, it's really you, right?
Well, I didn't, I rejected it. So we didn't go into like the real details, but it was basically, I think the terms would be, so they would acquire like, obviously Weekend Club and the contracts and the customers, etc. But I would continue to run it. So I imagine there would be some kind of, I don't know if there'd be an earn out or whatever it would be, but we didn't get that far. But it would be for me to continue running it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool, man. Let's wrap up here with your famous five. You've already given us two great books to read, Get Together and The Business of Belonging. Any other business books you really like?
Pretty obvious one, like The Lean Startup, but everyone's read that at this point, right?
Yeah. All right. Number two, is there a founder you're following or studying?
A founder I'm following or studying. I like what Andrew Wilkinson's doing. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that on here, actually.
I do not mind, actually. Andrew's never met me, and it's fair, right? If you only read about me online and you've never met me in person, you would think I'm this crazy person, but
no. We can get anyway, it just pops into my head, but like I'm quite interested in kind of private equity kind of stuff, and I've been quite interested in like kind of the micro PE side of stuff. So I've been looking at that recently. I mean, I haven't acquired anything, but I'm just like still learning. But I think that kind of portfolio approach is interesting.
Yeah. Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building Weekend Club?
Oh, my favorite online tool. I mean, the obvious one's Slack, because like everything's happening in Slack. But like there's a tool I use a lot called Whimsical, which is really good for prototyping stuff, but also for like doing workflows and things like that. User journeys. And so I use that a lot for thinking about like improving flows and stuff.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I probably do get a solid 8 a night, to be fair.
That's good. And Charlie, what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
I have a girlfriend.
Okay, not married, no kids?
Yeah, exactly. That's
okay.
That's right.
And how old are you?
32.
32. Last question. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
What I wish I was doing when I was 20?
No. Something you wish you knew.
Honestly, just like don't feel like you need to be in this box that you're currently in, and your current you can completely change your trajectory to something totally different. And to follow your interests and to follow your natural curiosity, I would say. And I ended up doing that, but I probably started doing it a little bit later than I expected.
As every Saturday, 60 folks building side projects and SaaS companies get together. They do a full sort of sprint session together, 6 hours long. It's all because of this guy, Charlie. 60 of these folks, again, paying about $35, $40 a month, about $2,100 or $2,500 in MRR to date. He's looking to scale to $5,000 a month so he can quit his full-time gig and build Weekend Club full time. But great community. We'll see what happens. Charlie, thanks for taking us to the top.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Great to be on here.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company, or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them, and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.